The Ghanaian cedi is rebounding since March started after losing about 25% against the US dollar between January and February. In the meantime, the impact of the local bond swap is echoing across the frontiers as banks are taking a hit on their holdings of Ghanaian bonds. Joining me to discuss the Ghana Market Week is Fred Duvor, is the licensed dealer and CEO at Apacan Securities based in Accra. Great to see you again tonight, my friend. So I'm sure the stock market has seen a bit of an upside. I'm sure you can manage a couple of smiles, some smiles down there, my friend. The last time we were talking, things were really, really naughty. But summarize this week's market for me, Fred. Let's start from there.
Well, the equity market this week has enjoyed a positive week of trading. The composite index for the week has recorded a year-to-date gain of 1.46. This stems from a loss position of 2.36 last week. Now, this gain was mainly driven by price increases in the shares of MTN, which recorded about 7.5% gain for the week, and Total Energy also recorded about 21% gain. In the fixed income market also, due to a persistent market uncertainties and less attractiveness of GOG bonds, the market interest continues to skew towards treasury bills. Although we have seen improvement in trading volumes on notes and bonds following the conclusion of the exchange program, the bond market hasn't fully recovered. Hence the lower trading volumes or turnout in the market.
What would you consider as the biggest headlines that impacted the market so far? As we talk about MTN, are we having earnings already? Where are these big news coming through, beginning to getting investors to take on a bit more of a risky appetite for risky assets on your market?
Well, the biggest headline, I will say, did not even happen in the equities market. Last week, Friday, in an unusual development, the central bank rejected all bids for treasury bills. It cited the high cost of borrowing. They had investors tendering in bids of about 35%. So the central bank rejected all the bids on Friday and opened it up again on Tuesday. This caused interest rates to drop on treasury bills by an average of about 10%, from 35 to about 25%, which is good for the government's interest expense bill. I believe that the government is going to make a very conscious effort to drive down interest rates in the coming weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it does the same thing later in the coming weeks. I think that the target will be to push interest rates on treasury bills down below the 20% mark.
Okay, I saw about 27% at the auction last week, yes, like you just said. But again, one of the big news that is coming through from outside Ghana was that some banks are beginning to take a bit of a haircut, a bit of a fall in their holding of Ghanaian bonds. First round South Africa, Standard Bank says it's going to do a bit of capital raising because he's taking a bit on that local bond swap. So how is that playing out with the local banks there in Accra? Some reports say there could be up to 50% hit on their net present value. Is that right?
Yeah, quite rightly so. The debt treatment, it has created a negative impact on the balance sheet of most of these banks. On average, you had about 60% of banking assets invested in government securities because of the general risky lending environment. So banks have had to take a hit following the conclusion of the debt exchange program. I think the report you're referring to indicated that First Round and Standard Bank are estimated to mark down about $27 and $81 million as provisions. The specific loss provision for the local banks will be a function of how much each bank's exposure to government bonds were. Currently, I believe the banks are still in discussions with audit firms and the central bank to fine-tune the treatment methodology of these losses on their balance sheet. And we're keenly waiting to see the full year account releases of these banks, especially the listed ones.
Okay, so it's good news for the city. I love that news when I'm just seeing Cedi down from 20. Okay, here we go. 25% downside between January and February. Now the city is recovering. What underpins this recovery for the local currency? Is it that there's less demand for the US dollar? What is working?
Well, I mean, I think it's a cocktail of things, really. What we've seen is that the central bank has been quite active in the market to provide liquidity, especially to the BDC FX forward market, where the central bank provides dollar forward rates to the bulk oil importers. And it has also been quite active in the spot market. Also, traditionally, during this time of the year, there isn't as much corporate demand for USD as you would typically find in January, and also maybe later on in the year, around April, May, when corporates need to start repatriating dividends. But I also think that the government continuous engagement with its external debt, external creditors in the treatment of the external debt in its bid to unlock the 3 billion IMF facility has aroused positive sentiment in the market. The Ministry of Finance recently concluded a 3-day meeting with the Chinese delegation on restructuring and the bilateral debt. So all of these has given a certain level of confidence to the market, and in my opinion, it has helped stall the act of hoarding of FX that we experienced towards the latter part of the year 2022.
Okay, so how's the earnings season coming up on the Ghana stock market?
Well, currently, I think I've seen 3 counters releasing their full year earnings. BOP, which is Benso Oil Palm Plantation, MTN Ghana, and Anglo Gold Ashanti have all released their numbers. I think MTN recorded a 42% year-on-year growth in 2022, in growth in profits, I mean. This, although it's lower than the 43% that it recorded in 2021, it's still quite impressive considering the turbulent business environment that we had in 2022. We have seen this positive results reflect in the trading price of their shares on the market. I mentioned earlier that this week it has returned about 7.5% on share price. BOP also recorded profit growth for the year of about 73%, and that we see reflecting positively in their share price with a growth of about 21% for the week. So over the next few weeks, we expect more counters to release their earnings, and we will be analyzing that as and when they come through.
Yeah, it looks like a good TGIF for you. You're smiling, my friend. Good earnings, markets up, Cedi recovery. It's a nice time. Have a great lay back and enjoy the weekend, my friend. The rest of your colleagues in Ghana.
You too, my friend.
Thank you so much, Fred Duvor, CEO at African Securities Limited. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening.